Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yardmaster, joining our host, the Housecoat Gamer.
Yo.
Today, we are looking at, what we're sort of considering a new Klingon starship design, but is technically a reboot of an old one. We're looking at the Kelvin Timeline D7, though, as we called it, when we were doing our podcast of Klingon STD and Kelvin ships, we named this thing the Azetbur. So that's what we will call it, the Azetbur-Class. As of the Kelvin timeline, it could work, but this thing is definitely more a 25th century design.
Yep.
And
that's the problem with almost every one of these bloody things.
Yeah. The Kelvin timeline was meant as a reboot, but the ships just didn't work.
They never work. Because they're too advanced for their time frame.
Yeah. And so we're trying to pull this thing into a time frame where it actually does work. So, anyway, let's
fix this bitch.
Yeah, let's figure the stats out. First up, service date.
2400.
Yeah. 2400.
The Katinga was getting retired, and while it's still serviceable, the older ones are just showing their age. They need to go, so they're going.
But people still want the appropriate design to be around. I still want a ship designed like the Katinga. And so Shipwrights took the Katinga design, made a few modifications, and they named it after Chancellor Azetbur.
Acting Chancellor Azetbur.
Yeah.
Because, as stated, Klingon women do not serve on the council. I suspect the only reason Azetbur actually got the Chancellor's seat is because of her father's political connections, and the fact that the Empire was in absolutely no shape to go to war with anybody.
Yeah. So, anyway, next up, scale. The original Katinga and the D7 it was based on were scale 4, just like the Connie of the time.
I suspect this thing is a 5. It's roughly the same size as an Excelsior. I've compared the two.
Alright, scale 5. Scale 5 it is. So, again, 60 points as of 2400. And scale 5 gives us an extra point. We have 61 to work with. I will start by putting 10 into everything. And then we can add the extra point and then make adjustments as needed. So, 10 in everything, 60 points, extra point in weapons. I think that is probably fitting.
I have no clue.
Right. Well, we'll see if the book has any guidelines, because I figure they do. We'll see what they say. Let's see. Assigning system points. Most space frames should have an even distribution of systems if they are to be jack-of-all-trades space frames. This kind of space frame is rare, and therefore it will likely have a specialty. Federation and United Earth starships. Klingon vessels have always been tools of warfare, and thus tend to put more points into weapons and structure. Okay, so we'll pull computers and comms down to 9 each, and put an extra point into weapons and another point into structure. So comms 9, computers 9, engines 10, sensors 10, structure 11, weapons 12. I think maybe reduce sensors down to 9 and put engines up to 11 as well, just to give this thing a little extra speed and power.
Gunboat.
Yep. Now we go into departments. So, at least 1 point in security. Probably, at least 1 point in security. We have 2 more points available. We can put an extra point into security, or we can put points into command, con, engineering, science, or medicine. Probably not those last 2.
Yes, because again, this is a gunboat. Emphasized by those 4 protruding little barrels.
Yeah. I think weapons 2 probably works. So we have 1 more point. Command, con, or engineering.
Engineering. There's been some structural reinforcement on the bottom.
Yeah. So, +2 security, +1 engineering. Alright. Talents. At scale 5, this thing can have up to 5. We will see about giving it 2. Maybe 3. That'll leave room for a profile talent and 1 or 2 free talents. Let's see, come on. Talents. I say let's make this thing a little harder to kill in a different way than normal. Normally we would do things like ablative armor to improve resistance by 2, or improved hull integrity to improve resistance by 1. Let's give this thing advanced shields. The talent states, the ship's shields are state-of-the-art, using developments that other cultures have not yet learned to overcome, or which simply provide greater protection for the same power expenditure. The ship's maximum shields are increased by 5.
Considering the obvious weak point, the neck. That will always remain a weak point of a Klingon vessel. And flanking attacks are a thing. They always are and always will be.
Yep.
Even if the Klingon ship's specifically designed to go charging in, guns blazing, you have to watch your flanks. Because if you don't, you're screwed.
Yeah, so advanced shields. And now, I suppose I should mention a little bit about how shields work. Shields are, well, in terms of statistics, shields are basically your hit points in the Star Trek Adventure system, because because they're the main numerical value that gets reduced when you get hit by enemy fire. If you get more than 5 damage on a particular attack, then that goes through to cause a breach to one of your systems. Breaches are like critical injuries and such. And breaches can be very nasty, especially if they're to engines or structure.
Yes, nobody wants to suffer a warp core breach.
Yeah, which can possibly happen if your engine system suffers enough breaches to be considered destroyed. You see, starships also have a breach threshold. Basically, you can, if a ship suffers breaches to a system equal to its scale, then that system is considered disabled. More than its scale, the system is considered destroyed. And if the engine system is destroyed, well, then there's a chance you could lose a containment on your. There's a chance you could lose antimatter containment, and that's not a fun thing.
I would put up the clip of certain warp core breaches. I don't believe those are entirely necessary.
Yep. Okay, so advanced shields for our first talent.
Rapid fire torpedo launchers.
Alright. Yeah, that makes sense. Rapid fire torpedo launcher. Rapid fire torpedo launcher. Alright, that should be fine, though we could add one more talent. We could do improved hull integrity, basically make it even harder to kill, simply by dint of being able to soak up more fire before it gets counted against the shields.
Point defense grid?
Let's see if there is a point defense talent.
Because the weapon system on this thing includes a point defense grid, very similar to the Einstein from the Feds.
Here we go. Point defense system. Security requirement security +3, and with 2 points in security, that's probably going to happen no matter what your profile. The ship is equipped with a system of small energy weapon emitters that operates independently from the main weapon systems. When a torpedo targets the ship, these emitters start firing in the direction it is traveling from, potentially destroying it before it impacts the shields or the ship's hull. This system only works at subwarp speeds. The ship is considered to have cover 2 against torpedo attacks. Basically, you roll 2 challenge die, and the result gets added to your resilience. So, point defense system. Alright. Now we get to weapons. Strength 4 tractor beam, a scale 5 starship. Now, disruptor banks. Pretty much a given. Yeah, disruptor banks and disruptor cannons. And photon torpedoes. Yep. You can use expanded munitions to add an extra torpedo type or an extra energy weapon type if you want. Yeah. Now, traits, Klingon starship, and I figure we can add cloaking device as a special rule instead of a talent. Yep. Special rule. Cloaking device. All right. Well, I think that works. Viewers, if you have any feedback, please let us know. Because, well, obviously, I'm not I'm not an expert at Star Trek Adventures, so I don't know what is best for this kind of stuff, but I'm doing my best. And of course, Ron is an expert in Trek in general. He does not know Star Trek Adventures whatsoever.
And I have zero interest in joining the tabletop scene.
Yeah, I mean, even if it is basically digital tabletops these days, people join because there's Discord servers and stuff. But yeah, you don't need to do it in person. It is definitely we're definitely capable of doing tabletop games over the internet. Ron is not interested in that, though. He is just our Trek expert in general. So he is able to ground what we come up with in common sense. As usual, there will be a link in the description. And that is the Azetbur. A new Katinga design, a new design based on the Katinga for a new age of the Klingon Empire.
Bye.